We're bringing in a guest artist, Matthias Jacobson, to play a world premiere by a friend of ours, Ryan Francis. And so that sort of might be the centerpiece of the program, or at least the impetus for the programming that week. So we're really excited to work with Ryan and Matthias and see what unfolds, because it'll be a new work, another new work that we're premiering. Yeah.
Also on the program is a set of 5 songs by the Brooklyn-based composer Chris Cerrone called "I Will Learn to Love a Person." I first encountered this piece last December. I think he wrote it about a year ago. Chris is a good friend of mine, and I played this piece at his doctoral recital. Actually, he had just written the piece, and I found it absolutely gorgeous. I thought it was one of the best contemporary song cycles I had certainly ever played, but probably ever heard. Chris has a really unique and special way of writing for the voice. He's probably most well known for his first opera that he wrote a few years ago called Invisible Cities, that was recently produced out in Los Angeles. And you may have heard about this. It was sort of raised a big stir because they produced it in a train station, in the public space of the train station. And the singers and the orchestra and the dancers, everybody were sort of mingling around the train station. And the audience were all listening to everything on wireless headphones. So they were also walking around. They weren't giving any direction other than there are people that are part of the production all around you. You can sort of find them. It was wonderful. But aside from the production, his writing for the voice is what I think really makes him stand out as a young composer. And this piece is really great. After I played it that first time, I immediately got in touch with Kevin and I told him that we just had to do it this year. And so that's one of the pieces on this program.
So that will feature our good friend Lindsay Kesselman on voice. So we're delighted to have her with us for weeks 3 and 4 this summer. And then the last piece is by our good friend and yours, Amy Williams, a piece that she wrote a few years ago called First Lines. So it'll actually feature Lindsay Goodman on flute, and it's wonderful. There are 11 very short miniature movements that are each based on the first line of a different poem. Amy wrote it when she was in residence at the Bellagio Center in Italy, and she just sort of pulled poetry off the walls by other artists who had been residents there at some point or another, and titles or first lines that sort of drew her in. And so they're really lovely. Several of them are actually by a woman who teaches poetry at Pitt, Toy Darracott, and I think that was just sort of serendipity. It wasn't necessarily that connection, because of course Amy teaches at Pitt as well, that drew Amy to that music or directed her towards Toy's poetry. But I think that there's a real, Amy and I have discussed this, there's a real art to writing miniatures, right? Something that is satisfying. It doesn't leave you wanting more, but something that is just 30 seconds long. And Amy's writing is so timbral and inventive. And of course, she is a fantastic pianist. But she also studied with Robert Dick, who is really famous flutist, really known as sort of the Jimi Hendrix of the flute, and for making these really unusual sounds on the instrument. And he was Amy's first flute teacher when she was 8, because Robert and her father Jan Williams taught together at SUNY Buffalo back in the day. And so Amy's sort of concepts of what the flute can do and what's possible are just really wonderful to explore. I'm a flutist as well. I've played the piece, and I'm just so pleased that we're presenting it. It's really wonderful.